So recently I've been getting really into Emesis Blue, and I felt like making this video. I divided it into 3 parts: analysis/retelling, in which I pick up scenes and details I saw, as well retelling the events of the movie for better understanding of the next sections, theories and speculation, estimation of the general plot, and 5 questions about stuff I could not figure out. If you are all interested in certain things, the chapters are below. If you haven't watched the movie, go and do it. It's on YouTube, it's free, it's cool. From now on, here be spoilers. All that said, let's dive in. At the start, we see a screen showing us footage of the respawn machine by Alex Technologies. The Roman number below translates to 1964. Next, we see some men respawning. All of them are failed experiments who were not respawn compatible. The next screen gives us the time frame of the events. 31st of October 1968, Thursday, 3:08 p.m. The blue medic, Ludwig Fritz, suffers a nightmare, seeing corpses getting thrown away, a respawn machine overflowing with blood, and ultimately, a visit from a plague doctor. The sudden coming of the Blue Scout makes Ludwig snap out of it. It's 8 o'clock. The nightmare lasted 3 minutes. A shot of a news article sets the main focus for a while. Julius Archibald has been kidnapped. In the nightmare the Scout suffered, his teeth were falling out, foreshadowing 1, maybe 2, moments in the movie. It's worth noting that his teeth are completely healthy. Also, he has a head wound nearby his left ear, probably a scar from the operation needed to treat his seizures. Ludwig gives him some Valium and sends him on his way. As they are walking, some tapes fall on the ground. Of the movies, I managed to read Der König in Gelb, German for The King in Yellow, Faust, Das Grenzgericht, The Man Who Loves, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, Der Unsichtbare, The Invisible Man, Metropolis, and, of course, M. One last shot shows the door suddenly opening, almost as if someone came in rushing. Cut to the soldier and the spy. The soldier seems to be stalked by a shadowy figure. As the spy arrives and soldier gets distracted, the shadowy figure disappears. Spy is there to interrogate the Black Heavy. It is now 31 past 8, half an hour since the Scout visited the medic. The interrogation fails and a fight ensues. In the meantime, police reports of a stolen black hearse. For a brief moment, we see the Scout and Ludwig passing by in the ambulance. The stolen black hearse comes, and soldier shot Stalingrad in the heart. As the spy is about to open the briefcase, the Black Doctor comes and stops him, taking away the briefcase. Another change of scene. The Scout and Ludwig are talking, discussing how other people have been affected by a malfunction of the respawn machine. Ludwig mentions the front lines, and how one came out screaming. Ludwig brings the Scout home. As he enters, we get a quick shot of a car, possibly the black hearse. It's 9 o'clock, 1 hour after the visit of the Scout to the medic, and half an hour later from the fight between the spy and the Heavy. As the Scout is watching the film M and takes a pill of Valium, the phone rings, and he hears a recording of what he previously said to Ludwig. As he moves his head to look at his mother, we get a shot of a chessboard with a single blue pawn surrounded by red pieces, a foreshadowing of the situation Scout is about to be in. We hear a Whistler rendition of In the Hall of the Mountain King. It doesn't seem to be any kind of apparent correlation between the music itself and the movie. However, the lyrics that are supposedly sung reference things like hacking fingers, tugging hair, biting haunches, and being boiled alive. The lyrics are about all kind of sadistic torture the trolls want to perform on the protagonist, so it could be a simple parallelism on what the Scout is about to endure. The Scout's mother has been killed and her head chopped off. While not very visible, the hand is the medic's glove, and for a brief second, before cutting to black, we see the pyro. In the next scene, we see Ludwig in the ambulance, and hear the sound of a car starting and going at high speed immediately. The kidnappers with the Scout. Ludwig enters for a visit, unaware of what his alter ego, M, has done. We get to see the time again. It's 20 to 10, 40 minutes since the Scout's home intrusion and kidnapping. As he witnesses the crime scene, there is a sudden knocking on the door. It's the police. His eyes change color as he falls, suffering a psychotic episode. In the next brief scene, the soldier and the spy use the two-way radio to locate the black hairs, and hear one cop as he gets mauled by the plague doctor. Next, Ludwig suffers a nightmare. He has been locked in a coffin and screams in terror. This shot in particular foreshadows 2, maybe 3 scenes. I shall point them when we reach them. Also, the figure sitting is the Black Doctor, noticeable by the biggie mask. It is now midnight, 3 hours after the scout's kidnapping. Heavy's body has been taken away, to be experimented on. As Ludwig washes his bloody hands, he receives an envelope, with a key inside, very possibly from the Black Doctor. He also receives a call from Scout's kidnappers. It's muffled, but I think he's saying, "Let me go or I'll kill you."
What the hell have you done with it?
And finally, Ludwig notices the bloody writing on the wall, pointing him at Conagher's slaughterhouse. M is toying with him. A change of scene shows us the Scout's house, with the spy and the soldier snooping around while impersonating as federal agents. As the soldier is searching for clues, he reads the termination notice for the Scout, and also what exactly happened to him after respawning, showing one of the possible effects of the machine malfunctioning. They get onto the case, figuring out it is Ludwig, or rather, M, guilty of the homicide and the wounding of the police officer. Worth noting is that the bone saw is part of the torture tools of the Pyro. Then again, it could be a coincidence. Another change of scene, at Conagher's slaughterhouse. Side note, this moment here makes me do a stupid smile. It's the typical translation in video games where the level design tells you that you can't go back, as the bridge just spontaneously crumbles once the protagonist passes. I just find it funny. Back to the movie. The soldier and the spy have reached Ludwig's clinic, looking for him. The soldier never took Valium, which gives some verification on things I'm going to talk in the rising part. Another shot of a clock gives us the time. It's 1 AM, 4 hours since Scout's home intrusion and kidnapping. Back at the slaughterhouse, as Ludwig hears the screams of pain from the Scout, he rushes in, and gets chased by the resurrected Black Heavy. In the basement, we see a jukebox, a statue, an M symbol written with chalk, to differentiate it with the one written in blood seen a bit later, and the coffin in which Scout is being held. This is one of the scenes I think was foreshadowed by Ludwig's nightmare. Ludwig frees the Scout, however, he punches him, and runs away. Notice how they remove some of Scout's teeth. They resemble the ones of a rabbit. No idea if there is a symbolic meaning. His escape is short-lived. We get introduced to the Conagher brothers, two of a triplet of psychotic engineers. One of the triplets takes the Scout away, to be tortured to death. Ludwig can stand idle and let it happen. As he is about to take the remote control of the sentry, a ringing telephone stops him. It's a call from Dell, the third triplet. He updates the other two of a situation at Dust Bowl. At a certain point, Dell speaks too fast and it seems unintelligible. Even the subtitles on YouTube say so. But I think he is saying, "Free up the subjects, we have been compromised." After the call, one of the siblings starts playing the piano. While he is distracted, Ludwig tries to strangle him, but fails. As the brother is preparing the shotgun, the wall behind him starts moving upward. No idea if this is a detail meant to be noticed or just a rendering error. Anyway, Ludwig gets shot, and he seems dead, but he manages to regenerate. This is either a reference to a Team Fortress 2 lore piece I don't know, or part of his game mechanics translated into the movie, like how the soldier can rocket launch himself, or how the spy can get invisible, something like that. So the way I read it, in this scene he gets wounded to 1 HP, and because it's not technically fatal, even though he is bleeding out, he regenerates to full health. And also his eyes got to a vibrant cyan instead of the usual blue. The audio is muffled, but I think he is saying, "Hold on, I'm getting something down." Ludwig kills him, and the other brother, but he acted too late. The Scout is dead. In the meantime, the soldier and the spy arrive to the slaughterhouse. Spy's car gets destroyed, they lose all the evidence in it, and the sniper is shooting at them. They rush for the sewers, for it seems the only safe way to cross. The soldier mentions the war, and asks the spy who taught him at shooting one of your own. but the discussion is cut short by the red sniper, to which the soldier responds in kind. They decide to leave him bleed out, but they have lowered their guard, and now the black pyro has the soldier under his aim. The spy tries to intimidate him, but it does not work, and the soldier has to run away. Wounded on the ground, the spy tries to shoot, but to no avail, and the sniper laughs at his rookie mistake, almost as if it's saying, always count your bullets. And now he is defenseless. The pyro will capture him and patch the sniper. Next, we get shown the scene that confirms the time loop into the story. As the soldier is exploring, he hears a conversation. He does not yet know it's him on the other side. He picks up a crowbar and smashes a gate open, escaping from the Twisted Scout. Apparently, his presence alone is capable of disturbing the lights. On the other side, the soldier finds a strange portal and enters it, witnessing a hallucination. We see the medic playing chess with the plague doctor, and a foreshadowing of Spy's fate. The soldier runs in the trenches. He sees a scout getting shot in the head. He tries to help him, but it starts to mutate. The soldier runs away, and he gets back to the slaughterhouse. Suddenly, a wounded Red Demon Man asks for help, or rather, a drink. Apparently, Red does not control this territory anymore. The Demon Man says that if Red, they can both go on the upper floor and get some guns. The soldier obliges, and they get chased by the Twisted Scout. Not for long though. They enter the armory. There are zombies on the floor. Them and the Twisted Scout are the specimen Del was talking about. The trap springs, and the zombies rise up. We then witness a close-up of a jukebox, possibly the same jukebox that was present in the room where the scout was located, and for some reason moved here. After fighting the zombies, the Demon tries to escape, but in reality, they are trapped, and he looks at his gun with a desperate face. He is probably tempted of using it onto himself to escape the nightmare. This shot from the camera's point of view gives us the time. It is now the 1st of November, 13 to 2 in the morning. Our perspective changes, and we see Ludwig closing a wooden coffin, possibly putting the mangled corpse of the Blue Scout inside as a form of burial/respect. He then gets attacked by the zombie Red Medic. As he enters the medical room, he sees a recording showing 3 things: the time in which the Heavy got reanimated, half past midnight, the Red Medic experimenting with ways to bring the dead back, and this discourse about Helix and about how they don't deserve this. Ludwig gets reached by the reanimated Black Heavy, and now must run away. As the soldier and the Demon Man are assessing their situation, the soldier notices how the Twisted Scout is gone. Before they can do anything, both of them get reached by the reanimated Black Heavy. Don't shoot his head, it's his most armored part! After a brief fight, the trio manages to use the elevator and escape, with a little assist from the Twisted Scout, as it attacks the Heavy. We get a flashback showing the spy and Archibald executing several blue troops for treason, a memory of the spy, captured by the Black Pyro. Under threat of maiming, the spy asks what the Pyro wants. As he removes his mask and hides in the dark, to then light up his scarred face, I can think only of the word retribution. Back to the trio. They have reached the prison cells, and we read the writings of those unlucky to be locked here. Kill Me, God Helfmir, and M. The soldier finds Archibald, with a scar on the left side of the forehead, and start talking about the situation at hand. As they are talking, the Demon goes into what he thinks is a bar, but in reality is the laboratory. Ludwig is tempted to shoot himself, but he restrains from it, to then look in a mirror and say, "You want me to do it, but who wants to do it? Mem or Ludwig?" As the soldier gets distracted by the gunshot, he sees the doors of the command room, and Archibald is gone. Then the soldier sees something it was not there before, the body of a hanged man, a GI, similar to the ones at the intro. The Demon suffers a pre-mortem hallucination, as he receives a drink from Del, one of the brother triplets. Meanwhile, Ludwig has reached the spawn room. His sanity is starting to wane, as he sees the ghost of the Scout. But it's not the Scout, it's the computer terminal used to control the machine. The display shows one corrupted file found. Ludwig is haunted by his guilt, to the point the illusion of the Scout's mother forms behind him, as if she is judging him. He goes through with respawn, but, alas, it goes haywire, and the Scout is painfully liquefied. Meanwhile, the soldier has got into the command room and listens to the telephone, revealing how the original 9 mercenaries got to be where they are, and why also Red asked them. As he is listening, the red lights on the board in the background start to go out, until there is only one big light, concentrated in New Mexico, specifically Morton, the city where the movie takes place. The sudden comeback of the sniper forces him to hide into the laboratory. The sniper takes this occasion to call for backup, specifically the pyro. This gives the spy the chance he needs, as he frees himself and shoots the pyro, apparently killing him. Unfortunately, the spy does one fatal mistake, for the canister he used to stun the pyro spills its content, and the thrown cigarette ignites the gasoline. The flames eventually engulf him, scaring his face. In the meantime, the medic, now even more mentally scarred by his failed attempt, enters a time loop, or suffers a hallucination, seemingly into the scout's house, but somehow also connected to his clinic, and he witnesses one of the initial scenes from another angle, revealing that it was him that knocked the cassette tapes, and to open the doors in a rush, trying to warn the scout. We then witness the scout's house, and see M in action, just after the murder of the scout's mother. We get to see his face, with broken teeth and the exploded eyes. The arrival of the pyro, wounded and burning, but still alive, snaps Ludwig out of it, and he escapes into what looks like a church. We see what I think is the second scene foreshadowed by Ludwig's nightmare, as there is a coffin in the church. Ludwig hides in the confessionary, and notices the head of Hippocrates with the "Do no harm" plate on it. There is definitely a meaning here, but I can't read it. Ludwig receives a small crucifix, possibly from the pyro in an attempt to make M surface. Something in it is supposed to awaken him. Another change of scene, and now we are in the lab, as the soldier finds what he looks like clones of him. He also finds the demon, frozen to death. What follows is a sequence of action scenes, not particularly rich in details I could find, except for a small one. When the pyro puts his flaming hand on Ludwig's face, he leaves a specific mark. That mark is the Manat symbol, a Nordic rune. Apparently, it means man. There is definitely a deeper meaning, but I'm not familiar with Nordic runes to say what exactly is. Once Ludwig decapitates the pyro, he gets a round of applause from an undefined audience. It's likely a reference to Dunket. A shot from the security room shows us Archibald talking with Goldman, one of his contacts. He is distressed and looking for an escape and somewhere to hide. Maybe even use the spawn machine as a way to disappear for a while. Apparently, he does not know anything about kidnapping. I'm assuming he's just playing cool. As he is sharing his doubts about the volume, the phone call gets interrupted. The coin falls under a shutter. Once Archibald rises it, he looks visibly distressed and goes away. The camera slowly gains focus, and we can read execution floor. I'm just guessing, but I suspect he has found some corpses. Maybe of the originals? He encounters the blue spy, now bored and bitter, and he kills Archibald out of personal revenge. The scar seems gone, then again, there is a bullet wound big as a golf ball. Another change of perspective, and we are following the soldier as he enters the briefing room. And this is a movie of Archibald describing respawn compatibility, how the mercenaries are now corporate property, and how the original 10 men who signed the contract are now dead. Another shot shows photos of the soldier along other privates, and the failed experiments we saw at the beginning of the movie. I suspect that this photograph is not of a failed experiment, but of the Black Pyro, as it will explain why his face is still scarred despite getting exposed constantly. Every time he comes out, he immediately bursts into flames, surviving, but also getting scarred. The sniper comes. He tries to make the soldier switch side. Ludwig tricks the sniper into believing the pyro is still alive. Once close enough, he axes him, and the soldier finishes him off. They both get distracted by Emesis' pharmaceuticals ad, and get knocked out by the spy. Chapter 6 is called Catabasis, ancient Greek for a journey to the underworld. The soldier and Ludwig are now captives of the spy, made mad by the burning, full of bitterness and contempt towards Ludwig and his former colleague, and plays with them a game of Russian roulette, a game that Ludwig loses. We know that he's not dead, so take what I said about being at 1 HP and apply it here too. Now the only survivor, the soldier, must escape. We get another focus shot of Archibald. He has been put on the execution chair, The spy probably wanted to make sure he will not get up again, and also frame Ludwig. Then we get Soldier's catabasis, as he jumps in a pit containing several dead bodies. This is likely half hallucinations, half truth, since here are the bodies that Archibald saw earlier. It's also worth remembering how one of the Conager brothers was willing to throw the body of Ludwig in the chute, and who knows how many victims have they killed before. So, to reiterate, the bodies are, at least partially, real. One last obstacle gets in the way of the soldier, a chasm, and on the other side, freedom. As he is taking aim, he notices that there is someone else on the other side. From the silhouette, it looks like one of the GIs we saw in the intros and photos. He gets reached by the Black Heavy, but he takes advantage of the situation, and uses him to rocket jump on the other side. Freedom seems achieved, but a sudden pistol shot, luckily from the spy, makes him fall into the abyss. There is a very brief shot of another GI, before the soldier awakens. Despite surviving thanks to the flask, he is not out of the woods yet, for he is getting chased by the Twisted Scout, recognizable by the screams and the fact that the lights go out when it closes by. He sees the medic and the scout pass by in the ambulance, to then see himself in the car. This is half time loop, half hallucination, for if we go back and see the scene as a whole, the soldier notices himself while still in the car. Ludwig and the scout pass a bit later, when he is smoking outside. In any case, the explosion of the car makes him snap out of it. The slaughterhouse gets engulfed by flames. The Black Heavy tries to catch him, but he gets crushed by the building. In the next scene, we see the soldier getting questioned by Agent Stemmons. He pressures the soldier to keep his mouth shut, for what he has seen could bring down Blue, if the truth gets out, that is. The soldier reluctantly complies, but also does not reveal how he saw the death of the original one. The funeral takes place on Sunday night, 3 days after the main events. As the honorable guests arrive, the spy gives a mocking pat on the shoulder of the soldier. There is a reference to a cult. I think it exists, but more on that later. The spy takes the stand and puts the blame of everything on Dr. Ludwig. He announces that he is ready to become chairman of the board. Suddenly, Ludwig emerges from the coffin and kills the spy, the third scene foreshadowed by his nightmare. In the crowd, for a few frames, we see the Black Doctor observing the scene. A shootout ensues, and we can see a black hearse getting away. In the chaos, the soldier aids Ludwig and gives him the briefcase. As he steals an ambulance, we see the scout next to him, blurred out. Either the mental state of Ludwig is so far gone that now he starts to see ghosts in the corner of his eyes, or it's an implication of what he wants to do with the briefcase. Use its contents to bring the scout back. The newspaper gives us the time, Monday, 4th of November, 4 days after the events at the slaughterhouse. We get a shot of someone. It's too dark to make it out. Maybe it's Agent Stemmons, maybe it's someone else. I can't tell. On the last few scenes, we see the medic reach Dell's saloon. The paper mentions a Badlands feud. As far as I know, Dust Bowl is not in the Badlands. Ludwig asks for a phone, but Dell says he does not have one, then gives him the keys for the restroom. Before going inside, Ludwig gives another look at the place. While blurry and in the background, we can see the two Conagra brothers, one of which is playing the piano, just like he previously did. This shot confirms that Dell is one of the brothers, and also that he lied about the phone. No idea on who is calling. As the medic takes the whole Valium bottle, in reality Emesis diazepam, also, diazepam is a synonym of Valium. Emesis is a synonym for vomiting. No idea on how to connect it though. His teeth start to fall off, with blood all over the basin. Just like Scout's dream. Ludwig looks in the mirror. He does not see his image. A figure resembling Ludwig when he got out of the coffin at the Archibald's funeral forms behind him. All of this is a pre-mortem vision, as Ludwig, now completely gone insane and resembling M, with his broken teeth, green and exploded eyes, reaches final death. The movie ends with a shot of the briefcase, floating corpses, the possible shot of Ludwig engulfed in flames, and the credits, accompanied by a twisted rendition of Still Night, Heil Night, or better known as Silent Night. So that was Emesis Blue. Cool, but some questions are still unanswered. I'm going to put some theories, as well give my own percentage grade of how confident I am in their plausibility. The cult is real. At the funeral, the script that the soldier is supposed to read mentions a cult, and while the statement about Archibald being killed by Ludwig is complete bull, the cult itself exists. The Black Heavy, the Conagra Brothers, the Black Pyro, the Red Sniper, the Black Doctor. All of them were all working for the same goal: secure the briefcase. And also, M is part of the cult. Even though the bonesaw is a gift from M hypothesis is a stretch, the fact that Pyro and M work together to kidnap the scout is irrefutable. The only question is, why? Does M believe in the cult's objective, or is he only there for the thrill of the murder? Also, if M is part of the cult, why don't the others recognize him when Ludwig attacks them? Is it possible only the Pyro is aware of him? But more importantly, what's actually in the briefcase? Well, in the briefcase, there is the secret to respawning. The actual contents of it are never revealed, and the ending shot is rather cryptic to say the least, but I suspect that inside is the thing that makes respawning work, and without it, the machines, as in all of them, everywhere, cannot function, to the point it reads any file as corrupted. Another question is, what respawning exactly is? And I believe that respawning is just cloning and soul/memory implanting. At its core, the respawning machine is just a mechanism capable of creating the biological body of a person, and then implant the memories/souls of that person into that body. It can also omit certain memories by the intention of a user, as demonstrated by the fact that the soldier did not know of his own execution. This cloning mechanism is, of course, not infallible and can result in some problems. Let's look at the case study with the Black Heavy. Why? Well, the Black Heavy is the Blue Heavy. How the spy refers to him, almost as if he knew him.
You look lost, comrade, and that suit doesn't fit you. You're to the price of betrayal, friend. They'll throw you up against the wall for this.
And the way how he refers to Blue by its almost full name, Builders League United, it gives me strong "when your mother calls you by your full name" vibes, and makes me suspect that the Black Heavy is the Blue Heavy, and switches sides to the cult. Because the Black Heavy remembers how he was executed. Assuming my 4th and 5th theories are true, and also assuming that the Heavy that got executed by the spy is a brief iteration of the Black Heavy, because the machine is flawed, the memories of his betrayal and death were not removed. Instead, they were hidden in his own mind. Once these memories started to resurface, he must have figured out that there was something rotten inside Blue, and decided to desert. Speaking of memories, the Emesis ad in the briefing room is real. It has been uploaded months before the release of the full movie. One of the side effects mentions memory loss. I don't think this is a side effect, but an actual feature of the medicine, because Emesis diazepam is supposed to suppress the memories. Since the respawn machine is flawed and could implant memories that were not supposed to be there, the Archibald Foundation instructed Emesis Pharmaceutical to create this medicine as a way to keep the memories in check for the clones. For if they start remembering stuff they're not supposed to, things can get messy. Changing the subject, the Conagher brothers are not real brothers, but 3 clones of the same mercenary. This is pretty straightforward. The Conagher are not real brothers, but rather 3 clones who had suffered the same mutation, the lack of eyes, and bonded over it. It's also worth noting that, in the official Team Fortress 2 lore, Del Conagher is the real identity of the Blue Engineer. The bodyguards of Plutarch are clones of the Scout. This is quite a stretch, and not really consequential. And something I'm not sure myself, but the fact that they used the Scout's model instead of something more generic, think how they should buff the crowd at the funeral, as lieu of original models that fitted in Fortress 2 art style, could be a hint that Blue cloned the Scout? Fortress Films could be just reusing his model, I don't know. Something I'm more confident is, the photograph of the Burning Man is not a failed experiment, but of the Black Pyro. I'm going to repeat this theory for those who did not watch the previous section. I suspect that this photograph is not of a failed experiment, but of the Black Pyro, as it would explain why his face is still scarred despite getting respawned constantly. Every time he comes out, he immediately bursts into flames, surviving, but also getting scarred. Obviously, with so many things going wrong in the respawning, one might wonder why bother with it at all, and I think Eric's Technologies agrees, because Eric's Technologies is experimenting with a new way of respawning. Because the respawn machine is flawed and not 100% safe, Eric's Technologies started researching a new ways to bring the dead back to life, the zombies and the Twisted Scout, are all the 3 test subjects that Dell told his brothers to free. The Black Heavy is the success, or as close as a success they could reach. When the Red Medic is about to resurrect the Black Heavy, he talks about paperwork and how Eric's technologies don't deserve this.
Patient appears to have died from a bullet to the heart. Normally we have papers signed before doing these things, but no matter. The hell with Helix, you old fools. They don't deserve this.
Implied that he worked with them, and also implied they are funding this research. Let's talk about the time loops. The black hairs stolen is the same from some days ago. When we see the black hairs going away, it's the same black hairs that was stolen some days prior. How it could be possible? There is only one way. The time loop is affecting the entire city. Because the time loop is not just a time, but also a space anomaly, it's possible that it's affecting the whole city, to the point people can communicate with each other even if they are days apart. Example with the police. They are talking with their colleagues from the future, but honestly, I'm not so sure of either of these 2 theories. The Black Doctor is not real, but a representation of M. This is something I don't believe myself, so I'm cheating a bit here, but I want to address this in case someone mentions it in the comments. Despite the Black Doctor appearing in Ludwig's dream constantly, at the start, during his nightmare after the visit of the Scout's house, and when the soldiers saw them playing chess, symbolizing their conflict, to the point someone might genuinely believe that the Black Doctor is actually unmasked, I don't think it's the case. The times do not add up, and we also see the Black Doctor at the funeral, so there is that. Soldiers' catabasis takes place at the front of the slaughterhouse, where the bridge used to be. This is a bit inconsequential, but something I feel like saying anyway. Basically, the scene in which the soldier has to rocket Lance takes place where the wooden bridge used to be. He simply does not recognize it because he's suffering a hallucination. The spy was aiming to take control of the company for himself. When Spy talked about Archibald's will and how he will take his place as chairman of the board, he was aiming to use his position of power for his own ends, not to help Blue. It will also explain why he did not bring the briefcase back to safety. He wants to keep it for himself. And that were all my theories. Let's move to the general plot. Assuming the theories I have more 50% confidence in them are true, here it is how I see the whole. Back in 1964, Julius Archibald founded Helix Technologies in association with Blutarch for the creation of the Respawn Machine. At its core, a mechanism capable of creating an almost perfect copy of a person, and also implant memories and abilities of this person into these copies, or clones. Archibald sold the schematics of the machine to Redmond to keep the war going, for he was profiting from their conflict, by selling hats, weapons, maybe both. Biology is messy though, and accidents happen, not only for those who were not Respawn compatible, but also for those who were, as many of them suffer some kind of unintended side effect. Scout got seizures, Soldier hallucinates a lot, Ludwig got a personality disorder, the pyro bursts into flames, and so on. One of these side effects are the memories, or rather the unwanted presence of them, as the machine is capable of selecting which memories get implemented and which not, demonstrated by the fact that the soldier did not know of the original's execution, and how it was Archibald the one who did it. To suppress these memories, the Archibald Foundation repurposed a medication from Emesis Pharmaceutics, the diazepam, to keep the clones quiet, but it was still not perfect, and it also required for the subject to voluntarily take the medicine. As mercenaries from both sides started to remember things, soon they found out the truth. They were not who they thought they were, the originals, but malformed clones, and decided to fund the cult to bring their former employees down. Mind you, they are far from the heroes of this story, as they cause a lot of unjustified pain towards a lot of people. Consider them more like a group of people with a grudge, and willing to do anything to satisfy it. They took control of the slaughterhouse and used it as their main base. Some of their affiliates took the base that makes the spawning work from the machine at Dust Bowl. What they wanted to do with it? I don't know. Maybe they wanted to leak to the media, since the mere existence and knowledge of it is capable of bringing Blue down. Maybe they wanted to use it for their own ends. I can't tell. The Red Medic uses his affiliation with Helix Technologies as a cover. In reality, he is with the cult. But perhaps he's just an opportunist that wants to experiment for ways to bring the dead back, and just sides with who is in charge at the moment. It would also explain his zombie status. He tried the incomplete medicine onto himself to survive. In any case, the black guy was supposed to bring the thing to the Black Doctor, but he got intercepted by Blue's effort in the search for Archibald. His kidnapping is something I haven't figured out entirely, but I'm sure that the cult did not want him dead. If they did, they would have just shot him the moment they got him. For whatever purpose they took him, he had to be alive. Likely, they wanted to interrogate him and extort classified info. One question arises: why kidnap the scout? He does not have anything to do with any of this. And you're right, I suspected the kidnapping of the scout was a move not wanted by the rest of the group, but rather a decision of M, made on his own accord, and got helped by the Black Pyro. Why he did it, I can't say. Maybe just wanted to hurt Ludwig, as he seems to care for the scout's well-being. What the Conagra brothers did to him was only for sadistic pleasure. They were supposed to only guard him, but once he tried to escape, they saw it as a good enough excuse to torture him to death. Cue the movie and all the events that transpire in it. Despite my best efforts, there are still questions I could not find the answer. Here are the ones that stuck to me the most. What's the exact relationship between the cult and M? Like, we know he has some kind of connection with the Black Pyro, but what about the rest? Do they even know he exists? What's the deal with registered calls? I have no clue. Probably hallucinations, probably a recording made by the Black Doctor and played to mess with the listener. Why was the Red Demon Man here? Like, all the characters in the story had a reason to be there. The Demon Man is the only one I can't pinpoint. And also, why is the Demon Man friendly with Dell if Dell is their triplet? Hasn't he been wounded by the other two? Is he not a victim of the brothers' sadism? Does the Demon Man even hate the Conagra brothers? And what's the deal with the prison cells? I guess the soldier freed Archibald as he was hallucinating. Why didn't Archibald know that the Valiant was actually Emesis diazepam? Like, Emesis Pharmaceutics is a part of the Archibald Foundation. While not a chemist, he has directional control on what gets produced. No? Maybe because someone modified the labels? And why he say that he did not know anything about the kidnapping? I just don't get it. And that was the video. If you enjoyed it, give it a like. And hey, why not check some other stuff I made? I got a whole other channel dedicated to gaming. Or perhaps you would like to watch the previous video. It's about the infinite can copy pasta, but I made it into a audiobook. So yeah, see you around.